In this lesson, we'll be moving, copying, rotating, extending, and arraying. I do believe we have done most of these commands, but let's get this stuff officially behind us just to make sure we're getting it. As I've been saying, Revit needs to give you the ability to perform some basic tasks. These basic items certainly fall under the description of basic tasks, but you will use these tools more than anything else. Open the file you've been working on, or open the file called Chapter 5 and follow along. Let's zoom in on the south wing, south entrance. What I'd like to do is move this wall up 2'6". What we want to do is select the wall first, and that will invoke the Modify Walls tab and will bring up all of our Modify commands. In Revit, you need to select the item first, then perform the action on it second. So now that we have the wall selected, on the Modify tab, let's click the Move button right here. Move is a two-step process. We must first pick a base point, then pick a secondary point to move the object to. In this case, let's go ahead and pick the midpoint of this wall. Let's move it up. We want to move it up 2'6", so let's type in 2'6" and hit enter. The wall is now 2'6" higher. That wasn't too hard. Just make sure you move it straight. And also notice what happens here. There's no such thing as the stretch command in Revit. The move command does the same thing. The next thing we want to do is check out the copy command. So I'm going to come over to this part in the east wing, and I'm going to copy this wall over. Go ahead and select this corridor wall. We get the Modify Walls tab, and on the Modify tab, click the Copy button. Let's make sure Constrain is checked on. That means it's just going to snap horizontally. I'm going to go ahead and pick a point right here, at the end point of the other wall. It's interesting to see that these snaps show up when they're not apparent in the model until you hover over them. Come over and pick this endpoint. Now I'm going to bring this wall over to the midpoint of this middle wall. If you can't find it, type SM. Once you find the midpoint, go ahead and pick it. Hit escape a couple times. Let's mirror these walls down now. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to select this wall, hold down my Control key and select this wall. I'm going to click my mirror button, pick axis. I'm going to select my reference plane in the center of the building and mirror it. Hit escape. The next set of tools I want to look at are trim and extend. If you go to the Modify tab, there are some tools that you have to invoke before you select an item, such as these items here. If we want to extend this to these walls, we have to start the command first and then extend them down. What I'd like to do is click on the Trim Extend Single Element button. Select the inside face of that wall and select the bottom of this wall. Notice it'll extend it down. Hit escape a couple times. Go to the same button on the Modify panel. Select the bottom wall. Select this wall. Hit escape a couple times. The next command I want to look at is the Rotate command. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this end of the building now. And we're going to eventually place some windows in this radial wall. What I want to do is array a reference plane. So here's what we're going to do. On the Architecture tab, click the Ref Plane button. On the Draw panel, make sure the Line button is picked. I want to move to the center line of this arc. We do that by passing by the center line. Revit knows that we're coming. So we come down here and pick the center button. The second point of this line is going to want to be over and about here somewhere. It's just a reference plane, so we don't have to be that accurate. Hit escape a couple times. Now to rotate the reference plane, we're going to select it. Now on the Modify Reference Planes tab, on the Modify panel, we're going to click the Rotate button. New to Revit 2012, the center of rotation we can place. We'll place it over here at the end point of this line. This gives us our origin of rotation. Now what we have to do is pick 2 points. Pick the point that it's at and pick the point where you want it. So the first point, we're going to pick the horizontal 90-degree point. When we move it up, we're going to go up until it snaps to 45 degrees, and we're going to pick that point. Hit escape a couple times, and you've successfully rotated that line. The next command I'd like to look at is the Radial Array command. What we're going to do is make 4 copies of this line symmetrically about this radius. I'm going to select this reference plane. On my Modify Reference Planes tab, and on my Modify panel, I'm going to click the Array button. If we look at the options bar, we have a whole bunch of choices here. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure I'm on radial array. We want to group and associate them, because then what's going to happen is after we array it, we can select one of these lines later on down the road and array it again. It's a great function, and we'll look at that in a moment. For the number, let's put a number 4. Move to is a little bit misleading, but let's discuss it. We're going to move it to last, but we're actually not moving anything. We're going to keep that line right where it is, but we're going to copy it to last. What that means is we're going to have one line here, one line down here, and Revit is going to fill in the other spaces incrementally. For the center of rotation, let's click the place button. Let's pick a point right here. Now it's time to array. Just like the rotate command, we're going to pick a point up here that's parallel with this line. And we're going to come all the way down until we snap to 90 degrees and pick this point. This gives us 4. Once you get that, just go ahead and click off of it and hit escape. Now, if we look at the properties of this, we see that that's a group. You see the big box that's around them? That makes it a group. So if I select one of these lines, I can literally come in here, and there's a little 4. It's hard to see, but I can type in there and type in, say, 12. Notice that Revit keeps alive array. We don't want 12, we want 4. So if you change it to 12, please click in there, turn it back to 4, and click off of it. Hit escape a couple times. Under floor plans, let's go to level 1. If we're in level 1, type ZA to zoom all, and hit the save button. I'm glad to get those last few commands out of the way. Now we don't have to feel like we've been jumping ahead this whole time.